What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk a bit about The Last of Us Part 2. I want to talk about if The Last of Us Part 2 is releasing on PS5 and on the PS4. Now, this kind of comes right from yesterday's news story. Mark Cerny obviously did an interview, I believe, with Wired.com, and he revealed a lot of info on the PS5. It was a really, really cool article, a really good read from an incredibly smart man, and really the future of PlayStation, of what's going to be happening with it. So, if you guys haven't seen that article, definitely check that out. There's a lot of other interesting notes of backwards compatibility, of Death Stranding, and Death Stranding is the thing that kind of brought this idea out. They asked about Death Stranding, and Mark Cerny seemed pretty, he was smiling a lot, the interviewer said, and he wasn't really saying much, leading to the interviewer kind of thinking that Death Stranding would be coming out on the PS4 and PS5. Now, this isn't necessarily something brand new. I think a lot of people had always thought Death Stranding could be a dual release for both systems, and it does make sense considering kind of where we are in Death Stranding's life cycle. We're getting somewhat close to the end, I'd say, but we're not at the point yet where I'd say this game is coming out. This game does not seem like a 2019 game at all. I think every game that's kind of coming out in 2019 is almost running out of time to come out in 2019, especially really big AAA releases. They're running out of time to kind of announce that they are coming out in this year. And another big one, or one that's I think bigger than Death Stranding, and the title of this video is The Last of Us Part 2. Now, The Last of Us Part 2 I think is the most interesting of all of these games that could be dual releases, because this is a game that I think for a large amount of time, a lot of people, including myself, thought this game was just a PS4 game, and that they were basically doing to Naughty Dog what they did the first time with The Last of Us, in that it comes out and then within that year the next system comes out, and that didn't mess with The Last of Us. It still sold outrageously high numbers, and obviously it was Game of the Year and one of the best games I think ever created. And people had thought that that's what they would just do again for The Last of Us Part 2. But as this year ticks on, and as these rumors tick on, it's hard to say with certainty that this game is a 2019 game. Now, yes, we've gotten a lot of rumors throughout the last little while that, people have said The Last of Us is coming soon. Retailers, a couple things have leaked from that. The composer of The Last of Us Part 2 said that you'll see it really soon. So there's been things with the words soon, basically. The word soon has popped up a lot on The Last of Us Part 2. However, is this a game that's really ready to come out in the fall of 2019? If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said 100% yes, but it just doesn't seem like that's exactly where they're at. They just wrapped up with Laura Bailey doing the motion capture stuff, and she's a main character, as we've seen, and we kind of know who which character she is. We don't know about that character. A lot of people have speculated that that's Ellie's mom, but they had just said, and this is official, that she has wrapped the motion capture. Okay, now when Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker are done with motion capture, I think is a big moment, a moment that you can kind of say, okay, this is done. You don't normally wrap up motion capture for the game to release a couple months later. So if they're still working on the actual cutscenes where they're actually doing the motion capture, they're doing lines and all that stuff, if they're still working on that leading in to the summer or in the late summer, I don't see how this game is a fall of 2019 game. And more to the point of Death Stranding, think of the PS5. Think of how amazing it would be to have for launch. And again, these games don't necessarily have to come out the day the PS5 come out. They can come out a month, 2 months before the PS5 release. So Death Stranding, The Last of Us, they can come out in September, let's say, of 2020, and then the PS5 can come out in October or early November, and you can buy the game for PS4, and then you can just play it backwards compatibility on the PS5. And also, you go to your local GameStop, Best Buy, you go to Amazon, whatever, and the game would also have, the PS5 box cover, the box art on it. So, could you imagine that, though? Could you imagine the PS5 coming out with those two games as your AAA exclusive games just for the PS5? Yes, we'll have an Assassin's Creed. Yes, a new Rocksteady game may come out, and then maybe a GTA 6. So many games, and the next BioShock, all sorts of games, literally all sorts of games. Maybe a Cyberpunk. The list goes on, but to say that you're going to have The Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding available at launch is a little bit bigger than saying that you have Killzone, Shadowfall, and Resogun. Now, I love Resogun to death, but, you know, the magnitude of The Last of Us Part 2 being able to be played on PS5 is pretty amazing. Now, yes, The Last of Us Part 2 can come out whenever it wants to, and you'll still be able to play it backwards compatibility on PS5, but it's about how close to the PS5 The Last of Us 2 will come out. And I think, again, as time goes on, I feel like it's just more and more of a possibility. I think Death Stranding is a really likely candidate, and that's why that was kind of thought of in the interview, and that's why he actually asked Mark Cerny about Death Stranding and not The Last of Us. I think it's because when you think of especially those two games, and throw in Ghost of Tsushima as well, when you think of them, you think of The Last of Us as being the closest to being done. But at the same time, is it? Can they give Naughty Dog like a full extra year to do whatever they want to do with The Last of Us? I mean, the storytelling could be done, you know, that kind of stuff it could be finished. They could know the story, they can know where it's going, but they can improve upon the gameplay, they can improve the level designs, they can improve upon the AI. We learned so many things about the PS5 and that it's going to be, you know, utilizing sound. Sound is a really important thing that the PS5 is going to be working on and really transforming how we hear the literal sounds in games, and so maybe they can work on that. You know, I think that those sound designers, sound engineers in gaming, they've never really worked on anything like what the PS5 is going to have. So maybe you need extra time for that. So there's a lot of things Naughty Dog can do in the meantime, and and this is not like a TV show or a movie that's finished, but then, you know, the actual like publishing rights of it gets pushed and the movie can't come out for like the New Mutants movie that's basically been done, completely filmed, the entire movie is ready to roll out, and yet it gets delayed like 2 years. Okay, it's not like that. I'm not saying The Last of Us Part 2 will be done this summer and then they'll just kind of put it on the side. They'll be, you know, the code will just be available to hit the enter button and it'll be ready to go out in a year and Naughty Dog can do something else. I'm saying put in more work, just do more stuff with The Last of Us, only if it makes sense. I mean, if the game's coming out this year, this fall of 2019, then it is, and that's spectacular and I can't wait for it. But at the same time, next year in the fall, you know, is when Sony's going to really need all, you know, everybody on deck. They're going to need a Death Stranding. They're going to need possibly The Last of Us. They're going to need stuff to sell their next console that's AAA exclusive. Ghost of Tsushima could also be that game. We would expect probably a Spider-Man 2, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and a God of War 2 all within the first 2-ish years of development. Maybe there's an Uncharted game. There's so much Sony has, I think, lined up for the PS5, and The Last of Us could be one of those stealth things that we didn't expect it to actually help the PS5. We kind of expected it to just be a game that comes out this year, be a phenomenal game, be a Game of the Year contender, but, you know, now that we're really looking at it and kind of examining it, could it come out on the PS5 as well? Could it come out in September or October of next year instead of this year? It's possible. It's very possible. We'll just have to wait and see at the end of the day. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all this stuff? What do you think about all the stuff we learned about the PS5? When do you think The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out? Do you think it's a PS5 game? What about Death Stranding? Any of those games? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you as always for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video.